There's an important principle in overlapping sets that I want to cover, and that's the idea that if you have overlapping sets like this, and if I said that this is party A and this is party B, and we know that this overlap is a consistent figure. It's a hard number, it might be 20 people. If I said that portion made up 50% of A, but only 5% of B, then it must be that B is a much larger group, because this same number made up a smaller portion of that group. And that's the idea we're going to cover here. So if 400 people applied to either school A or B, so we have the same situation here. We have A and B, total of 400 people, and they applied to either school. And 10%, so of the people who applied to school A, 10% applied to school B. Okay, so this is 1/10 A, or 1/10 of the total A. And then we also know of the people who applied to B, 30% applied to A. Well, that means this overlap is 3/10 of B. So I know that 1/10 of A is equal to 3/10 of B. Well, that means that A is much bigger because all you need is 10% of A to equal 30% of B. And I can actually create a ratio here. So if you multiply both sides by 10, you get A equals 3B. And in our ratio review, we saw that when you have an equal sign in the middle, the multipliers are the opposite of the ratio. So the ratio of A to B is actually a 3-to-1 ratio. So this multiplier flips sides and this multiplier flips sides in the ratio. So I know that A is 3 times as big as B. Well, I also think of ratios as 3x to 1x, which equals a total of 4x parts, and the total of 400 people is equal to 4x, which means x is equal to 100. A must be equal to 3 times 100, which is 300, and B is 1 times 100, which is 100. And so that is how we get to our solution here. And basically we figured that out. We don't know what this overlap is. Well, we actually can calculate it now. Based on what we just studied, if it's 30% of B, that means the overlap must have been 30, which also makes sense because it was 1/10 or 10% of A, and we saw that A was 300. 10% of 300 is also 30, and so all these numbers tie out. But basically the idea is we knew that A was going to be bigger because this overlap was a smaller percentage of A than it was of B. And that's the big picture concept that I want you to take away from this. But also, it does give you a ratio in terms of how much larger each of those bubbles is as a whole. And that's actually something we can calculate by setting these two portions equal to each other and then turning it into a ratio with an equal sign.